Good, happy Friday evening. I'm Riley King, and welcome to the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. We have a lot of news to get to this Friday evening, so let's begin. First up, Shaheen Hassan say U.S. must have strategy after airstrike in Iraq. Strike kills top Iran general. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
Vibrant caffeine gum. Ow! A caffeine boost with empowerment pow. And we are hearing from New Hampshire lawmakers this noon. U.S. Senator Jeanne Shaheen tweeting, Soleimani's death represents justice for American lives lost. But she goes on to say she hopes the White House has a plan in place and is prepared for potential responses from Iran. Senator Maggie Hassan said Soleimani was an enemy of the U.S. and the first priority is protecting U.S. troops. The administration needs to proceed with great caution, consult with Congress, and be clear with the American people about its strategy.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Cory Booker meets with small business leaders in Nashua. Booker meets with immigrant-led small businesses. Democratic presidential candidate Cory Booker continued his multi-day swing through New Hampshire on Friday. In the morning, Booker attended a taping for an installment of WMUR's Candidate Cafe series. Then he spoke to a crowd of immigrant-led small businesses leaders in Nashua. View raw video from the event above this article. And we will have a link for you on the Riley King Network Facebook page after the broadcast. CMC employee robbed at gunpoint. Second armed robbery in 3 days. At approximately 6:05 p.m. Thursday, January 2nd, Manchester police responded to Catholic Medical Center for a report of an armed robbery. The victim told police she was leaving work at CMC, crossed the Sky Bridge, and was in the employee lot when a vehicle pulled up behind her and a man jumped out. The suspect displayed a gun and grabbed her purse. He then got back into the vehicle and drove off. The man was described as white with a gray beard, a dark jacket and pants, and a winter hat. This investigation is ongoing. If you have any information regarding this robbery, please call Manchester Police at 603-668-8711 or the crime line at 603-624-4040. You can remain anonymous, and information leading to the conviction will be rewarded. Christopher Vincent, 43, of Concord, is being held without bail, charged with arson/animal cruelty. We feel he's a serial arson, and we're glad he's behind bars at this time, New Hampshire Fire Marshal Paul said. New Hampshire State Fire Marshal's Office. And here's a photo of that suspect, as you can see right here. This is the suspect right here, as you can see. Activists erect scaffolding over tracks to block train headed to coal plant. Let's take a listen to that video from WCVB Boston.
We are here to discuss Jesse's online time. 30 minutes. 1 hour with the tablet, and my client will walk the dog. Do the dishes. 1 hour with the tablet, the dog will do the dishes. We got a deal.
Control your family's online time with Xfinity XFi.
Let's talk about getting our ears pierced.
Switch today.
That's right, Antoinette. It's actually going on right now. The proceedings just above me. You can see those windows behind me in the courthouse. Now, these four who were arrested are from Pawtucket, South Portland, Maine, also Turners Falls, and Pembroke, Mass. All four of them were arrested on the tracks last night.
More than just being an agitator, it's about standing up for ourselves and doing what we need to, bucket by bucket or train by train. We're taking matters into our own hands, and that's incredibly empowering.
That empowerment took the form of this scaffolding towering over railroad tracks in the town of Harvard, blocking the path of a coal train heading north from West Virginia. The 25 environmentalists on and around the scaffolding from the Climate Disobedience Center with a message for the Merrimack Generator Station, a coal power plant in Bow, New Hampshire.
We're here to say it needs to stop completely, and we're asking for an end date for the operation of the power plant in New Hampshire.
Emergency crews brought technical gear out overnight, and it became apparent the protesters were not going to leave the tracks. Eventually, after about 8 hours, 4 people were arrested.
They weren't helping, we'll put it that way. They had to go in and put the harnesses on them and physically lower them down, but they weren't combative or trying to keep us from being able to rescue them.
Those 4 protesters faced charges of trespassing, walking on the tracks, and blocking a train, and were taken to Clinton District Court. Meanwhile, the group says it is the 5th such action involving the blocking of train tracks in the last month, and the attempt to get the coal there.
Burning coal in New England in 2019 or 2020 is ridiculous. And so we will stop when the shutdown date is given to us.
And eventually, after about 8 hours, that train did keep going. Now we have a message out to the parent company, which is Granite Shore Power. We've yet to hear back from them. Again, the proceedings going on right inside right now. We're live in Clinton. Josh Brigadier, WCVB News Center 5.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And now let's take a look at that U.S. stock market and see how your U.S. stock market closed for this Friday evening. And here's a look at that U.S. stock market for all of you for this Friday evening. Your Dow Jones Industrial Average closed in the red and went down. Your Nasdaq closed in the red and went down. S&P 500 closed in the red and went down. Gold closed in the green, went up. Oil closed in the green, went up. US 10-year closed in the red and went down. Euro/USD closed in the red and went down. And VIX closed in the green and went up. Dow drops the most in a month after U.S. airstrike on Iran's top military leader spooks investors. Stocks fell on Friday after the U.S. confirmed that an airstrike killed Iran's top military commander, sending oil prices surging and ratcheting up geopolitical concern. Dramatic escalation with airstrike in Iraq. Let's take a listen to that video from ABC News.
The U.S. and our allies on alert after that dramatic attack on Iran's top military commander.
Yeah, and Iran's supreme leader is now vowing revenge for the U.S. operation that took out that man, General Qasem Soleimani. He was killed in a missile attack at the airport in Baghdad on Thursday.
The U.S. saying he was responsible for the deaths of hundreds of Americans during the Iraq War, as well as those protests earlier this week at the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad, also warning that he was actively planning attacks on American diplomats and service members.
And you can see thousands of his supporters taking to the streets protesting this morning. Our chief global affairs correspondent, Martha Rabbitt, starts us off there in Washington. Good morning, Martha.
Good morning, Robin. Americans are being warned to get out of Iraq immediately after this stunning and dramatic escalation with Iran. And now the world waits for the response from Iran. What they do could have a profound impact on the region, possibly leading to war. And given the threats this morning coming from Iran, a response is almost certain. A fiery heap is all that remained of the motorcade that was carrying Qasem Soleimani, the powerful and revered Quds commander in Iran, a force labeled a terrorist organization by the U.S. Soleimani had just arrived at Baghdad's international airport, climbed into an SUV, and within minutes, he was dead. A sophisticated U.S. drone launching powerful missiles into the vehicles carrying the elite commander and others supporting Iranian-backed militias. An image of Soleimani's hand from the smoldering wreckage emerging with a large ring he was known to wear. The Pentagon saying in a statement last night that Soleimani was actively developing plans to attack American diplomats and service members, adding that the strike was aimed at deterring future Iranian attack plans. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo going further today.
We want the world to understand that there was, in fact, an imminent attack taking place. President Trump's decision to remove Qasem Soleimani from the battlefield saved American lives.
Soleimani in the crosshairs after the death of an American contractor last week and the attack on the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad that followed. President Trump, who gave the final order to take out the Iranian official from his Florida retreat Mar-a-Lago, tweeting an American flag last night, and this morning tweeting Iran never won a war but never lost a negotiation. Directly targeting a senior Iranian military official is a major escalation in Trump's confrontation with Iran and his so-called maximum pressure campaign, which he began after withdrawing from the Iran nuclear deal, followed by crippling sanctions. Soleimani himself blasting the president in a speech last year. Let me tell you, Mr. Trump, the gambler, he said, know that we are near you in places that don't come to your mind. Soleimani is a hero in Tehran for his battlefield exploits dating back to the Iran-Iraq War in the 80s and the U.S. war in Iraq, where his Quds force is responsible for the deaths of hundreds of U.S. troops in Iraq, according to the State Department. But Soleimani was also a leader in the fight against ISIS. A mix of intelligence and special operations, the Quds force conducts deadly operations and leads fighters throughout the region, including in Syria's civil war to support the brutal dictator Bashar al-Assad. Iran is all but certain to retaliate for the assassination, with fears of an escalation that could spiral into war. Iran's powerful Ayatollah saying this morning of his right-hand man, his efforts and path won't be stopped by his martyrdom, by God's power, rather a severe revenge awaits the criminals who have stained their hands with his and the other martyrs' blood last night. Martyr Soleimani is an international figure of resistance, and all such people will seek revenge. U.S. troops in the region are already on high alert, days after the embassy compound in Baghdad was stormed by a pro-Iranian militia and its supporters. The two-day siege forced Marines to deploy tear gas and Apache helicopter to fire off flares in warning. That attack came after U.S. airstrike Sunday killed 25 militia members, a retaliation for the death of that U.S. contractor last Friday. The U.S. has deployed 14,000 troops to the Middle East since May, an additional 850 arriving just this week. All of them now potential targets for an Iranian response. Israel is also on heightened alert this morning, and others across the region. And while Soleimani was responsible for the death of so many American forces in the past, it is unclear how this ends, Robin.
Martha, please help people understand how significant this is and how big of a blow this could be to Iran.
It is such a blow, and as you saw, thousands of mourners did take to the streets across Iran this morning after Friday prayers. There were three main chants: death to America, death to Britain, and revenge, revenge, something we will likely hear a lot more of in the coming days. Robin?
All right, Martha, thank you.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And that does it for this evening edition of the Riley King Newscast right here on the Riley King Network. I hope you all have a great rest of your Friday evening, and I'll see you back here tomorrow for another newscast. And I'll have a news report coming up in a little bit. Good night and bye, everyone.